The governor of the state of Florida and our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, are slated at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time to hold a joint news conference. Now, even the major news outlets were not made aware of this. This is something brand new. And the subject matter is not clear still, but I believe it's probably going to center around two topics. The first one, of course, is the OSHA rule that was released earlier today. But I do believe there's going to be a second topic, given that this is happening at the Attorney General's office. Now, I'm sure many of you are aware who this is. This is the Agriculture Commissioner for the state of Florida. Her name is Nikki Fried. She is the lone statewide elected Democrat in the state of Florida. She barely won election in 2018. In fact, they had to do a recount, and there was a lot of mystery around that, but that's not what we're going to focus on today. You see, Nikki Fried thinks that every day in Florida is a day at the beach, and that anybody and everybody should be able to do anything, whatever the hell they want, whenever. And that sounds good. It really does. Like, well, why not? Law is bad. It's like, well, to have a free and safe society with law and order, there have to be rules. You can't just let anybody do anything. You see, that's what her and her husband believe. He's a big medical, quote unquote, medical marijuana guy. What he really is a big drug pusher from California. You see, they think it's a good idea to stay stoned out of your mind all day long, and everything will be just fine. You see, they want to turn Florida into California. They want tent cities everywhere. They want property values to collapse. They want crime to run rampant. They want people to be hateful of the police and the authorities so that everyone can run to government to protect them. You see, that's the key there. That's what people don't get. She's also really good friends with this guy. She thinks he's just the bestest president ever. And last June, when our governor decided to answer the call from Texas when they needed help with the border crisis, she had a problem with that. She didn't like that one bit because that made her good friend Joe Biden look bad. And here's a quote from her Twitter. Floridians are living through multiple crises, including historic protests for Cuban freedom. Yeah, what happened to that? The worst red tide in years, which literally has nothing to do with anything. Recovery efforts from the tragic Surfside collapse. We're not even going to go there. And once again, skyrocketing COVID, blah, 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 blah cases. But this governor chooses to skip town and play border patrol. We have issues that need leadership here in Florida. But the governor is more interested in what even Texans are calling political manipulation at the border. He should let the experts handle immigration and focus on trying to run our state. You mean experts like Joe Biden? Is that who you think should be allowed to run the border? Experts like Joe Biden, Nikki Fried? You see, in another article, we know that you don't like the governor, period. Because he has defeated your narrative time and time and time again. But we do remember on June 18th, 2021, you were quoted saying that our governor was intentionally creating chaos over a quote-unquote made-up crisis. This is what you said. Here's your quote. Certainly in the height of hurricane season started, this is where our law enforcement officers need to be. You see, you were upset that we had so many law enforcement officers coming to Florida that we had a surplus of them, and we decided to help out Texas because we were suffering here from the Biden border crisis, where our law enforcement officers need to be, continuing your quote, Miss Nikki Fried. And quite honestly, this is for the federal government. This is something that is a made-up crisis. These are your words. This is a quote from Nikki Fried, confirmed. This is something that is a made-up crisis, and we need to make sure we are prioritizing the people of the state of Florida first. You see, that's what we were trying to do, Miss Fried. Case in point. You're not going to be able to get out of this one. Another illegal immigrant murder story out of Florida. Oh, but this one's better. This one's better. You see this guy here? You know who he is? He's a 17-year-old unaccompanied minor who needs help. Help from the Biden administration. It's a heartwarming story of an endangered child finding rescue and safety in America. 17-year-old Reynel Alexander Hernandez of Honduras crossed the Texas border into the United States during the summer and requested assistance. Under the compassionate Joe Biden administration's policy of handling unaccompanied minors, he was moved into protective custody and provided with care. He later made his way to Jacksonville, Florida, where Francisco Javier Cuellar took him in to live with him and his 4 children and gave him a job working at the family business. It's a portrait in miniature of the American dream, isn't it? Yeah. Except for the actual truth of the matter. It would be a wonderful story, except for a few details. You see, Reynel Alexander Hernandez was actually Yari Noel Medina Ulloa, and he wasn't 17. He was actually 23. And last month, he stabbed the man who took him into his home and gave him a home with his children and a job in his business. He stabbed Francisco Javier Cuellar to death before being discovered covered in blood by the police. Mr. Cuellar's children have been left without a father, while Ulloa sits in jail awaiting trial. Now, you see, here's why even entertaining electing people like Nikki Fried and their pro-drug culture is a problem. It'll lead to things like this. It'll lead to errors in judgment. Because for them, life is just floating on one cloud of marijuana smoke to the next. And everything will be fine. And all you need to do is have your allies in the media change the headline. You see, this was the headline that ran when this happened 3 months ago. Man accused of stabbing roommate to death in Jacksonville pleads not guilty. Now, most people would read that in their newspaper and go, oh, okay, well, something bad happened in the city. See, it wasn't a man and his roommate. It was a guy who came across the border illegally, posing as a child, who was taken in. It wasn't his roommate. He was acting literally the guy was acting as a surrogate father. And we kind of got into it earlier today. I did a live stream with the governor from Jacksonville, Florida, where he was talking about investing in Cecil Field and undoing a lot of the Clinton era base closures that happened in the 90s. But somebody brought up this issue with Nikki Fried and that we should be worried about her. I'm like, we shouldn't be. We absolutely should not be worried about her. But now that I look back at this, see, there are so many people here in Florida who think, oh, there's no problem with drugs. There's no problem with drugs. Marijuana's innocent as the wind-driven snow. It's just tyrants that want to take away my right to be stoned all the time. Well, you see, that's a problem. See, when you have an entire culture where everybody is stoned all the time out of their minds, judgment calls don't get made properly. Not every day in Florida is a day at the beach. You need to have adults in charge. We're not trying to make Florida California. If you want to go see what it's like, someplace where everybody walks around stoned all the time because drugs are perfectly legal, anything you want to ingest, by all means, head to Africa, head to southern Colombia, even head to California, head to the West Coast. See how well that worked out for them? California was in a state of collapse long before 2020. People were leaving there in droves because of this very issue. They don't have proper judgment. Somebody has to be sober. Somebody has to be in charge. Somebody has to make the hard decisions. And it ain't this guy. It ain't this guy, and it ain't her. This is what happens when you let yourself be ruled by emotions and feelings. You see, you don't have a problem with people putting their hands on you and giving you a good sniff as long as they let you have your drug of choice. And that's what led directly to this conflict. See, on the left, we have somebody who understands this. We have somebody willing to stand up and be an adult and say, no, sorry, you can't be drunk, stoned, high, 24/7, 365 as a society and expect to have freedom or liberty or peace or justice or anything like that. The two don't go hand in hand. And this is what you'll get. Nikki Fried has two things going for her. The first thing she has going for her is she has the mainstream media and Twitter on her side. She actually has three things going for her. The second thing she has going for her is she has a bunch of people who are already drug addicts who want a drug addict in charge of the state. And the third thing she has going for her, and I know this is going to seem petty, she's got a, let me see if I can say this properly. She's not too hard to look at. And believe me, she has no problem showing off. So those are her big three things she has going for her. She loves her drugs. She'll say or do anything to get them and push them on as many people as possible so that they vote for her. They'll vote for their addictions. She has the media and the liberals in California on her side that control Twitter and the platforms. And she has some God-given assets. Let's just put it that way. But as you can see, there's a man in his grave now and 4 children who had a father who don't now because of her line of thinking. And I'll just leave this here and let people make their own decisions. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. When the governor goes live later, if it is covered, they are saying that it will likely be on channel 10, if I'm not mistaken, out of Tampa Bay. We're going to go live with it, but just horrible. It's absolutely one of the most horrible stories that confirms the collusion of the Biden administration with murder in Florida. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you hopefully in about an hour.